So you're probably here looking at me thinking like, who is this bloke? Who is this man who's going to talk about Reiki? Where's he coming from? What's he about? What does he stand for? So I thought today I would go and cover that as best I can. And you see this little clipboard here is what I often sometimes have with me to go over the points that I'm going to talk about. I don't need that today. I don't need it because this is all about my own personal journey. And you're thinking like, and I kind of thought about, do I really need to share this? I think it's important. It's not an ego trip here. Nothing puts me off than people wafting on about how great they are at Reiki or whatever it is. No, it's not about that. For me, this is just me sharing my journey. So you know where I'm coming from. So when I'm talking about the things I'm going through on my channel here, that there is something to back it up, shall we say, to speak. Speaking with, I don't like to use the word authority, but kind of saying like, I trust what I'm saying, and hopefully you can too. And as I explain my journey of how I came to get into all this thing, I hope you do find it interesting as I explain it. Or I'll try and put on a bit of my raconteuring, because I love storytelling anyway, and try and go from there. So where did it all start, really? Well, there are two places I could start from, but I'm going to go right back to I suppose about 2005 is where I first saw something rather unusual. Let's put it that way. I came back into my office, shared office. So it's a shared office we all had. I didn't have an office of my own where I was, at the time, I was a stock auditor. Them days are long gone there. It's all about CAD and stuff, frightfully dull. But like really nice people that we kind of like associated with at the time. And I remember coming back to the office, and my boss was sitting in his chair, right, in a rather relaxed pose, and I can only say there's this woman over him, waving her hands all over him, and I'm thinking like, and he had a smile on his face because he obviously heard I came in, and I thought like, okay, let me just get some stuff, and I'll walk out of there because I thought, what the hell is going on? Clearly it was unusual, but clearly the lady, she was either doing a Reiki or some form of spiritual healing. I did not have a clue at the time. All I know was back then I was just sort of like, he lost it here. And it's why I love talking about this because I'm no sort of like spiritual guru or anything like that sitting on top of a mountain. That's not me at all. I'm just a normal bloke. And I think it's important that when I want to break down this mystique of Reiki and all these kind of things, they're available to us all. And it's a natural gift. I don't even say gift. It's a natural, actually a birthright, really, that we kind of turned off from. And I think it's time, and especially this day and age, we start opening up to all that stuff. But anyway, I digress. So that was in 2005. A couple of years later, a friend of mine who's in Dover said to me, "Oh, Gary, by the way, I've learnt this thing called Reiki," and I was thinking, like, Reiki, and I think, and I again clueless, call me a muggle or whatever you want to do, but I thought it was something to do with gardening. I thought it was some raking up the leaves or something, and she says, "No, no, 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 don't be daft. It's like an energy healing kind of thing that I've just learned." And I was kind of curious, and I'm thinking like, okay, in for a penny, in for a pound, I'll give it a go. Um, and so I went round to my friend's place. She got me to sit down. I relaxed in my chair, and I thought it was quite nice, just a nice gentle thing. She could put her hands on me, and I was feeling this heat. And anyway, as I was doing it, my knee suddenly started to spasm of its own accord. And I looked down at my knee, and I think like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Is he doing some weird kind of Jedi mind trick on me here? And it kind of like, I would say freaked me out, but it kind of got me thinking it's doing this on its own, its own volition. And I knew something was going on. And I can look back now, I can tell you what was going on, but I didn't know at the time. At that period, for some bad reasons, in a pursuit of fitness, I decided to take up karate a couple of years before. I'd done this when I was sort of like about sort of like 11 to 13. I did this years and years. We are talking a long, long time ago, believe me. Um, But I thought in a moment of madness, I was in my forties, I thought, let's have one last hurrah at getting fit. And so I took up karate. Now, the problem was, we do this thing called a roundhouse kick, which is a moishigiri, as it's called. But the problem was I was not turning my front foot because you have to turn the front foot in. So forgive me, I can't really do it. It's swiveling on the chair, not quite the same bit. So you get your hips round and the leg comes through like this. It kind of like goes like that. Now, if the leg don't turn, if that heel does not turn, it's the knee is wobbling in a way it shouldn't do. And clearly that was causing a bit of a blockage. So I know now when my friend gave me the Reiki, it went, it was basically just pulsing energy to where the blockage was. It's actually quite simple. But I didn't know what was going on at the time. I just thought, oh my gosh, this is just a bit nuts. Um, she learned level two, and again I went round to have another experience, and that was just a really nice, relaxing kind of like experience that I had. And it really kind of piqued my interest into exploring this. I want to know more about this Reiki stuff. What is it all about? Um, yeah, I do say and I don't edit the ums out. This is me. This is raw videos when I do these things. I believe this is how it should be. It should be natural. We're not doing any special effects here. But go forward a little bit longer. And I'd left my job in London at the time. I'm not going to go into the reasons why, that's irrelevant really, but um, I was kind of in a weird space. I was in between jobs, shall we say. And there was this guy who was in Lenham who was doing this kind of, he had this healing house. And again, I just wanted to get my own spiritual journey started, for want of a better word. So he was giving me a few little things, pointers he gave to me. But he gave me some Reiki again, and again it was wonderful. It was just I was having strange kind of visions. I'm not kind of saw myself as visual at all, but I had these inclinations, for want of a better word, like inclinations of colour, and it was just a really nice experience. And I was determined. I think I want to learn this. And I saw the guy, and I thought, like, is he going to let me this job? But he wasn't ready to teach. He'd done his lovely Reiki circles, but he just wasn't ready to teach at that time. He was into his band and his music, which, I respect that totally. So I was off, huffing and puffing, looking around, and I was looking online, for Reiki teachers. I thought, it's a bit pricey. They all felt, for want of a better word, a little bit not resonating with me. It's almost very business-like, for want of a better word, which is fair enough. I totally get that, but it just wasn't communicating with me. And so life evolved a little bit more. And then one day I always remember I was in a competition, and this is where I almost started the video here. And I ain't gonna lie, I was met my match. This guy was just way too good for me. He threw me around like a rag doll. And I was looking up at the ceiling, I was just seeing this lovely grey, and I thought, well, I've got a great job as inspecting ceilings here because like I just spent more time on the mat than I had on my feet. But it kind of made me. There's like a little penny drop, almost saying to me, Gary, we love you doing this karate stuff, but there's something else out there for you at the time. Time went a little bit further, and eventually I stopped doing karate. I had a little bit of a disagreement with them, which again, it's not relevant to this really, but it put me on another path. I was still working at my job at the time, and I deviated then into getting myself fit at the gym. So I was down a fitness centre, getting myself fit. And when I was there was, of all things, a psychic fair at a gym. And I thought, well, that's just a bit odd. You don't expect to see them things in a gym, do you? But I thought, I'm going to go in there. It's all free. And I was really just interested in workshops. I went to the workshops, kind of like got a vibe, feel for that vibe. And, whenever I was all right. It was interesting. And then, blow me down, a month or so later, I was doing it again. So again, I went in there, but I thought, I've had a good workout, but I fancy doing something. I fancy trying one of these things out. So I've never had a reading in my life before. And I met this chap who's sort of like done stuff on TV apparently. And he gave me a reading and he said, "Oh, you're going to be like this master healer and you got an old soul, you got a master number 11 and all this sort of stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, mate. You know, I think I was looking. I think you got the wrong punter here, pal. I mean, yeah, sure, I was interested in Reiki, but old souls and all this kind of malarkey. I hadn't got Scooby what he was talking about. But I took it on the chin. I thought, okay, that's it's a nice kind of like reading. I'll take that. And then I met at the same one. It was my angelic Reiki teacher that I met there as well. I sat down and she gave me an angelic Reiki treatment. It was lovely and went in for a raffle. And I won a prize. I won a prize for her to go and have an angelic treatment session. And that was kind of like how my angelic Reiki journey started. But that's a different story, because I really want to keep this on mainly on the Reiki track. But that was a lovely introduction to my spiritual journey, real big time. This is really, really started to take off. Um, and we go forward a couple more months, and I kind of got the bug for these little spiritual meetings. And it was all free; it wasn't costing me nothing. Well, it actually did for the reading and the healing, but that was fine. I didn't mind. Anyway, imagine the scene. It was a grey day. Rain was pouring down. It was a Sunday, and I could have just stayed indoors and thinking like, can I be bothered to get in my motor and take a little journey down to Ashford for another one of these blooming psychic fairs kind of thing? And I was like, well, I don't really know. And in the end, I bit the bullet and I decided to, give it a whirl. Went down there and it was like, again, it was hardly anyone that was at this place, but there were the people that were there really resonated with me. And I went to a lovely lady. I'm not going to mention names here. I almost kicked the camera, but I told you there's no fancy editing. This is how it is. But I went down to sort of like go and see this lady who was giving this talk about power animals. And so again, visualize the scene. Everyone's there getting these lovely walls. I think there's a couple round to me as we went into this meditation. And they said, "What did you get?" This lady went, "Yeah, I got a lovely wolf, really big, strong wolf." Another one got a wolf. I think everyone got a wolf. They come to me and they said, "What did you get?" And they didn't know my name. I said, "Oh, yeah, I got a badger. I was a flipping poxy badger." And I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted, like, everyone likes a big wolf, don't they? But no, no, they said, no, no, don't knock it, Gary. Badgers are brilliant. Apparently they bridge. So I know some people listening to this will be thinking, it's getting a bit weird, Gary, but they apparently bridge the spirit world to the physical world. They are great at building bridges, badgers are. They're also very effective healers with those claws. They root out the foundation of the disease. They literally will rip it out. And that was kind of like the animal that came through for me. And as I was there, I was talking to this lovely lady about her own experiences, and we got chatting away and sort of like didn't really think much more of it, but we had a good discussion. And as I was going away, I sort of remembered the lady's name who took the talk, so I thought I'll add her on Facebook when I get back. So I added her, and within seconds, literally nanoseconds, bang, another friend request came from the lady I was talking to. I thought, oh, I found out who it is. And then we got talking, and this is where the fates conspired. They made me go that day. I look at that now, I understand. Because she was looking to teach someone Reiki, and I was for the first time, and obviously I was looking for someone to teach me. I was to look for the right kind of person, and I just knew she was the Reiki teacher for me as soon as she knew that I was meant to be her first student. So we made that connection. I went to see her for a sort of like treatment, just so she could get a lie of the land before she sort of like worked with me. And then on the day, it was just amazing. When I went to see her, she taught me Reiki, um, and it kind of opened my eyes. And this really was where the journey truly started, because when I started that, then I started my angelic Reiki journey as well, pretty much in tandem. So I can imagine I've got all these new energies just coming into this old dustbin called me, clearing out all this rubbish. And that was kind of like really truly where it started. Then I went to get involved in spiritual development, which, believe you me, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have just said, what a load of rubbish. All this about card readings and all that. I just always thought it was all nonsense. But here I was, going on to my first nascent steps on that journey. And it was Reiki that opened the door of that. I could easily spend a lot of time talking about my spiritual journey with the card rings and stuff, but that's really another story, and it's not. It is relevant to Reiki, but I want to keep this on point with the Reiki. So that was kind of again how it truly started, and then I've met another place, a lovely magical place in Charing, where I started going there, and again it was developing my story. And the lady who runs it says, "Right, Gary, I need you started teaching Reiki here because, like, it's we need some Reiki teachers." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I'm still level 2." And now this is where the fates conspired, because the one who taught me Reiki initially, she'd gone up to Lincoln by now, or Norfolk, or around that part of the world, completely the other end of the country. So, and it was just like, well, that's really not practical at the moment for me. But the fates conspired that I ended up being taught Reiki master teacher level at this new centre that I went to. And again, that was another step on my journey. And of course, what happened? The fates conspired that I suddenly become one of the main teachers there. And I was thrown in at the deep end. It was like, and this is what's happening, people. It's like, when you get thrown into situations, don't panic. I did. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is going to be a disaster. Especially when you first attune someone for the first time. You're thinking, is this going to work? Is this going to be just a load of old took? Thankfully, it all worked, and over time now, I've kind of like trained people in Reiki. I've given Reiki at fairs, in sort of like, and also professional in one-to-one situations, and I've sent it over course and distance, very effective as well. And that was truly where things really started to feel natural for me. And again, I've been learning over the years, learning different things. And yeah, okay, you can call me a Reiki master teacher. I prefer to just think of it as just someone who just worked with Reiki and is in a position to show other people how to use it. I really am not one for these grandiose titles of grandmasters and masters, whatever. I'm obviously sort of like, I don't even like to use the word proud because that's got connotations, but I'm satisfied with my accomplishments, shall we say, that it's taken me to this level and new levels of thing working from wonderful people that I've met who show me other ways of working with energy and also meditations and all these other aspects coming together. And it was always Reiki that opened the door. And never ever think that I'm going to walk away from Reiki. That is part of me now. And my message to you who all seen this video here, as I've laid bare pretty much, been brutally honest with my journey. What is your journey? How have you got to be here today listening to me waffling on about my own journey? What is your journey? I would love to hear your comments if you've made it this far in the video, because I know from experience that quite a few people start to listen to their attention drifts. Well, I understand that. But if you're here now, still watching this, what is your journey? Don't be shy. Put those comments down there and I'll be sure to answer them. I promise you that. Because my dream now, as we go forward, is to keep teaching, is to keep building a lovely community spirit. I've got some lovely people in my little Reiki group that I work with. We do it all online. People that I've taught, and some Reiki friends who've come out from outside. Maybe you'd like to be part of that if you're a Reiki person and you want to get involved in my little Reiki weekly Zoom chats. Just put that in the comment. Just put Zoomy, ZOOM, and I know you're pretty keen about what we do, and I'll include you in that. But I do ask that you are attuned to Reiki. That's the only provision that I do put in there. Because I do honestly believe it's important that we keep building that energy. We do that as a collective. Yeah, I can do my own little thing. Of course I can. But imagine if we had a lovely group of about 50 Reiki practitioners, masters, teachers, whatever level you are, just all working together. What could we achieve? You know, that would be amazing. Anyway, that's my story. That's what my story. I'm sure I've missed stuff out, and maybe I'll look another one day, I think, oh, I'll do another video, cover out what I forgot. But there we go. That's my story, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. And I shall end there and just wish you all a beautiful day, beautiful evening, wherever you are. Take care and catch you soon. Much love. I'm going off.